Okay, good evening. This is the April 18th, 2018 meeting of the Laconia Conservation Commission. So we're in order now, and we're going to pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm Dean Anson.
Dick Christopher.
Deb Williams.
Marty Schultz.
Lisa Moran.
Evan Rathburn, staff technician.
And we have a guest, Steve Smith, Steve Smith Associates. So would you like to go first, Mr. Smith?
If you want me to.
We have a quorum, so we're ready to go.
But I might have to have Dick to step aside because my dog bit him one time out running, and I don't want him
Really?
to use that against me.
Wait a minute,
Two
your,
dogs.
your dog bit him, and he was running, or
He
you
was
were
running.
I was running two dogs.
It's not very good when your dog bites your instructor, so.
Oh, that's right, we went through this before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Student and instructor, okay.
Right. So, for the record, Steve Smith and Associates, I'm here tonight. I filed a conditional use permit request with the planning board for John Remington at Wentworth Cove Road. This is the Beechwood subdivision off from Wentworth Cove Road, and we're dealing with Lot 7. I have it up on the board. I guess you don't have any plans.
Excuse me, what Cove Road? I didn't get that.
Wentworth Cove Road, and it's actually Wentworth Cove Road Extension. And it's a cluster subdivision that we did for the Remingtons a number of years ago. And the Remingtons have received a permit to put a dock in on Lot 7. This is Lot 7. It's got a access way off from Wentworth Cove Road, which is in this area here. And they have a permit to build this breakwater and this dock from the Wetlands Bureau. They've had the permit for some time. They had to get it extended. Their goal is to build it this spring. And once they build it, they need to have some type of a bubbler system out there, so they need power. And there's a fairly sizable wetland in here that runs up and a finger up in this area here. They have a house under construction here that was, have all their permits for. The foundation is in, the driveway is in, it's paved. Got a wetlands crossing back a number of years ago to put a culvert in here to cross the wetland. There is an existing little bridge here over this little outlet, and then there's a pathway that goes to where they're putting the dock in. And our proposal is to put an electrical line underground from the foundation, and it'll be strapped underneath the bridge crossing, and then underground from there to the docking facility. It's be put in conduit, going to be hand dug, no heavy equipment in there. And we're in the buffer, so we need the conditional use permit from the planning board in order to proceed with that. As I say, it's probably a couple-hour job with a hand shovel. It should be not very invasive at all in terms of it'll be put back, ground will be put back in the path. And we thought about going for a variance to go overhead power, but then you have problems with storms and wind, and it just doesn't make any sense, and the ordinance doesn't allow overhead power really, so that's our proposal.
Steve, could you outline their lot for me? It's hard to see from here.
Starts here at the lake, comes back 230 feet, comes somewhat parallel with the lake, but it's a straight line. 209 feet. Then there's a 50-foot strip that comes out to Wentworth Cove Road, and then comes back in and back down to the lake. They have an average frontage. Put my glasses on. Taking the straight line distance from pin to pin at the lake, and then the shoreline, add them together, divide by 2 under state regulations. They have a shore frontage of 210 feet.
When do you propose to do the work?
Well, I have to go to the, I have a scheduled meeting with the planning board in, let's see, May,
Right.
and probably sometime June or July.
Okay.
You know, they have to get it, get the contractors over there to do it. Watermark, who obtained the state permit, is the one that's doing the construction.
Okay.
And they wanted to be able to make sure if they put the dock in this spring and summer, that in the winter they'd be able to have the bubbler there. It won't, because of that open water there, it won't last.
Okay. Any other questions? Dick, do you have any questions?
It's not a loon area or anything like that, I assume, in that whole area?
It actually had to be, we had to file with the Hampshire Heritage Bureau for any endangered species, wildlife and stuff, before they could even get their dock permit. As I say, it's gonna be a pretty minimal amount of work. As hand shovel, we're not gonna have any equipment in there. You can't get heavy equipment in there anyways. This thing doesn't have to be very, very deep, but they wanna put in the ground so weather doesn't bother it.
It's just a power line, that's all. In conduit, I assume.
Yep.
Neither me nor Public Works had any recommendations for this, because like I said, like Steve said, it's minimally invasive, not the usual, we're gonna drive a backhoe in there and.
Right.
Right, as I say, a couple guys, you know, 2 or 3 hours and
What's the length of the trench again?
length of the trench. Well, I apologize, I didn't measure it, but the scale is 1 to 30, so it's
So you
probably
must have
gonna
put-
be about 90 feet.
Underground.
More than 2 or 3 hours.
For bubbler.
It's not too bad digging there. As I said, they don't have to go very deep.
Video sand.
Certainly, they'll be in and out in a day.
Yep.
So, they won't have anything open, and they'll be carrying it as they're.
It's on their own property anyway, right?
Well, it is, but, you know, we're always concerned with protecting the wetland, and have heavy equipment in there, and digging big trenches, you'd be there some time, it'd be open for a while in bad weather, and this shouldn't be any of that.
So you're gonna hand dig?
Yeah, they have
Okay.
to.
Okay. This is Mike Foot, if you don't know Mike.
Greetings, Steve. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
Very well, sir.
We're proposing an underground power line to reach a dock that's been permitted by the state to put a bubbler in the wintertime. And hand shoveled, put it in with conduit, bury it. Don't have to worry about weather. Should be pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Not that it's any of our business here, but I assume all electrical safety things are gonna be taken care of, like GFI
Well, they have to
and
do
all
it to
that.
code, yes, absolutely. Watermark does all of the work around the lake, familiar with the codes, and, you know, pretty reputable company.
Mhm.
They're not gonna, I don't think they're gonna do shoddy work. They'll be liable for it if they did, but they have a code they have to do it by.
Do they plan to reseed when they top off?
Hmm?
Are they gonna reseed the
Yeah, they'll
loam or?
restore it after they get done, as I say, it's just gonna be a fairly small trench.
How deep is it gonna be?
Well, I'd say no more than a foot probably, it doesn't have to be very deep.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't, not something that you plow in the wintertime, it's gonna be covered
Right.
with snow in the wintertime, not used in the wintertime, other than the power going out there.
Well, the public service or Eversource is gonna determine what depth you need to go to anyway. I think they're gonna tell you that.
Hmm?
Eversource is probably gonna tell you what depth to go to, won't they? Or is this
I
a?
don't think so on
is it-
on private service
Oh,
like
this is a
that.
private one, nothing to do with them, okay.
I mean, if we were out.
Coming off the house then, yeah.
If we were out in the road somewhere, yeah, we, you know, where it's gonna be plowed, we gotta get it down there.
Okay, any more questions?
Nope. reasonable.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the said plan proposed.
With no recommendation.
Unless someone has recommendations,
It's
other than
fairly
reseeding.
straightforward.
I mean, it's pretty,
I'll second.
Okay. Any additional comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks very much.
Lisa, did you abstain?
No,
Oh, okay, I didn't,
I was quiet, but I said
Okay.
yes.
This is tired.
Dollar after this. You're right, after the weekend.
Is there a page in here for me to sign? I don't see it. This is just a,
That was just the application that Steve submitted
okay.
to the planning department. for
All right,
his-
so I'll give it back to you then. Okay. Okay. Next item. We have the minutes from the April 4th meeting. Anybody have any?
yeah, probably your copy.
I wondered about, still 4-1, but it's on the second page. When we were talking about, master plan update, and I thought it was mentioned that we were going to, need to make sure that that stormwater section got,
Oh, the stormwater ordinance?
the stormwater ordinance was resubmitted or became, it was one of the items that was no longer there in the draft, and we wanted to make sure it was put back in.
Okay.
And we had mentioned that. We didn't have a lengthy discussion, but I thought it had been mentioned in that discussion.
Okay, I'll re-add that in. I'll go over the recording.
So we're going to add the old, or the existing version of the stormwater regs?
I didn't,
what you're
I was
saying?
not the one that brought it up, but I noted that it wasn't here.
Anybody remember who brought it up?
I actually do. I think Evan had brought it up
Oh, okay.
to remind you that you had talked about that.
Oh, I know what he's referring to. Referring to the draft stormwater ordinances.
That Luke and Shannon were
Right,
working on.
right.
Okay.
And,
Okay, yes, I do remember saying that.
okay.
I will fix that then.
So if you could, I know you've done this before. If you could print out copies and bring them to the next meeting so everybody has a copy and we can,
Yeah, I've got it in a file downstairs, so I can take
Okay.
a copy and print it out.
thank you. And since our meeting, I had a meeting at the Lakes Region Planning Commission Executive Board, and we talked about LRPC is doing stormwater regs for different municipalities, and I asked them to give me a copy of those kind of generic regs so that we could use it. And Jeff said he would, but he hasn't given it to me yet. So when he does, I will call him and make sure that I get it so that we can have that at the same time, that we get the ones from,
Once we've approved or made changes to the minutes, I do have a further question on this. I don't,
okay? Okay. What are they?
oh, well, I can ask it now. No, I just didn't know, have they set a schedule for, because I thought there was gonna be public input before they vote on this again, or wasn't?
They were not able to have a quorum at planning, so they're not able to present it to planning. So the beginning of the public input, they'll present it to planning will have to say, okay, we'll take this, then they'll put it up for a public meeting. That'll be the first of the public meetings, and it'll come around again once they present it to the city council, I would
Okay.
imagine.
Okay,
And
thank you.
the next planning board meeting is the 9th of May.
Yes, I think that's the one that Steve will, yes, that's the one Steve will be at.
Okay, all right.
Because, yes, I remember he wanted to be before the commission, before the next meeting, so yes.
Okay. Okay, so any other comments? Questions? Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented with the input of the stormwater ordinance.
Second.
Any additional comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So the minutes are approved from the 4th of April. So let's go into non-public session.
Okay. Before you do that, Dean, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else on the agenda you wish to discuss?
No, I think the other items that, we talked about the culvert surveys. We talked about those last time.
No.
No, we didn't.
We tabled
Oh, we
all
did,
of it.
okay.
Yeah.
So New Hampshire DES had trained people, groups of people, to do culvert surveys. In Laconia, the DPW employees were trained, and they've gone out and they've surveyed the culverts in the city. And what they've done is if you go to the website for DES wetlands, they have a button to click to go to these culvert surveys, and they're really interesting. They have pictures of the influent and the effluent ends of the pipe, and they have noted different sensitive species, animal species that live or might inhabit those. And part of the purpose of the survey was to make sure that animals could go back and forth through the pipes, so that the elevation was at ground level, the bottom of the pipe was at ground level, so animals could go back and forth. And it's,
You're talking about the aquatic resource mapper? The paper I'm supposed to give you back?
what? That's okay, I have other ones, you're okay.
It's in my desk, I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's
Yeah,
all right.
so can I just butt in?
Sure.
On May 21st, at the Lakes Region Community College from 9:30 to 1:30, I'll send you guys I'll send it to Evan, he can send it out. We're doing the training on web soil survey and the aquatic resources mapper in their computer lab. It's during the day, unfortunately during the week, so maybe not all of you can make it, but. So Cheryl Bondi will walk us through it.
Good.
Well, the New Hampshire Conservation Commission did a program in that Saturday, when I went to Conserving Special Places, that specifically identified this type of thing, and he did a really nice job of pointing out some of the areas that they've done nice jobs in correcting major issues.
Oh, great. Good.
So,
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the beauties of this, is that when we're looking for places where there needs to be modifications made, we have them.
Mhm.
So, I
But the
think,
big thing is it's no money.
oh, there is no money.
There's no money. They, everything is sort of left up to DOT to some degree, because there isn't that much
I
money.
think, I think most of their projects with that
Yeah.
are DOT routes.
So, that's the biggest issue.
Well, is that why the Lakes Region Planning Commission is really, because they have that 604B money or whatever, I mean, they have pots of money that other people don't to address stuff like this?
I don't know if that money is available to do modifications
Oh,
or
okay.
not. But I think it was used to do these surveys, and they're still doing them. They're not all done. But you can go in by town by, I went for my road, and I didn't realize there were as many culverts as there are.
Oh, this
even-
was, well, you said last week you have like 8 tributaries based
Yeah.
on your, yeah.
Yes, yes. And so the advantage of that is when we look at different tributaries for the lakes or ponds, we can use this as a way to track the tributaries back. And one of the things that will be on the agenda for the May 9th Planning Board meeting is, remember, back in 2016, we went to the planning board and asked them to put 30-foot buffers on Class 1 streams. Remember we did that? Well, we never went to the next step, which is to go from the planning board to the city council. And when I talked to Dean about that, he said, he talked to the city attorney, and her recommendation, I think it's a her, recommendation was that we go back to the planning board. So he's gonna present that at the May 9th meeting, and if it's approved again, then we can go to city council and ask them to change the regulation. And once we do that, you know, then it'll all be finalized. It's
The-
cast in
The
concrete.
wording on that, was that for 30 feet on either side, starting at center line or from the bank of the stream?
I think it was bank.
Because that's a big difference, you know. Or does it mean 30 feet like this? You know, I think you gotta be very, very specific on the wording.
Yeah, and we were specific, and frankly, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I mean, it ought to
I
be,
have it in my computer, I can check.
it seems to me it ought to be from the bank 30 feet.
Right, I think that's what it is, because we went through that.
Yeah, I
We went
remember going through all that stuff, and it was vague at the time.
Right. And then this'll make it consistent so that we have a buffer around Class 1 streams. We already have it around Class 2s and Class 3. So now we will protect the entire stream. Okay, so, anybody wants to go to the May 9th Planning Board meeting, is welcome to come. I'm gonna go. So, anyway. Okay. I think that's it. We'll go into non-public session.
Is that the last thing we're gonna do tonight, is the non-public, or?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
just got
Does
one
anybody have
item.
anything else?
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's not a big item.
Okay.
There was an article in the Sun a few days ago, and I was gonna cut it out, but it got junked. We went to the recycling before I could get to it, about the land that's in
Current use fairness.
current use. Yeah, it was a big, long article.
Yeah.
And they showed the percentages for the various towns. Now, Meredith just got a big chunk of money, and the Conservation Commission got to keep it, too. It was huge, more than we have to start with here, I think. And my question was, when they mentioned Laconia, I forgot the percentage, it's pretty high.
It was 30.
Yeah, now, does that include, like, the state forests that are state-owned and all that, or is that private property that's in current use? And it didn't distinguish. I was kinda curious what what was actually counted?
I spoke to, one of the assessors about this. It wouldn't be anything the city owns, because then we're exempt from that. Because it would be,
And the state
be a
school would
giant
be,
loop.
yeah, the
pretty
state
much.
school would be
Um,
exempt from it too.
Yep. So yeah, I'd assume it's private. I'm not sure about the state stuff. What did you say, Maureen?
The state property would be exempt also.
Yep, because it's governmental, because
Yeah,
ours goes
it's
towards.
government-owned, not,
So yeah,
privately
it's all
owned.
private.
Yeah.
So that's,
I was just wondering now, is there a printout or a map of something for Laconia that details this, what's in current use? I mean,
Would be on the
somebody's gotta
tax
know
map.
about it.
Be
Yeah,
on tax
you should
map,
be able to pull that from the tax map.
But you,
because you get quite a break.
What?
You get quite a break by putting your land in current use.
yeah, I
You
understand
get a heck
that.
of a break on your taxes, so.
yeah,
So, one of the things that you'd wanna watch, especially if you're going to drastically rewrite your land use, and this has been a worry from back in the day, when they started the, current use setup, 1973, if I'm somewhere in there. If the town decides that you're not paying a weight because it's a farm, and they could tax you on its value for being developed, they're gonna be wanting more. So what happens when you rewrite the master plan and you wanna make smaller houses and cut up that little bit of open land that you do have even harder? And that's one of the things I'd worry about as we move forward here with the master plan, is out of the few large, pieces of property we have here in Laconia, that it's not driven to tax it out or force it to sell or force it to develop. I just be cautious about that.
when you say the tax map, can you just click on a thing, it brings them all up? Or
Yep,
you have to look at
go
each
to
one?
maps, go when you're in at the city of
yeah.
Laconia, go to maps,
Yeah.
and it'll give you a variety to pick from. There'll be zoning, there'll be,
Yeah,
there's planning, there's
Wards,
wetland layers, there's
right,
all sorts of
and-
things in there.
okay, so that's on there too, then?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just curious.
and I'm not sure about all the maps. I was surprised at some of the, information that was there.
Well, anyway, it just seems that, I thought perhaps that, you know, they were counting all that state stuff and, you know, like, all that stuff along Parade Road going towards Meredith there.
All would depend upon how you wanted to spin the story.
Well, that's what I was wondering about, because they didn't clarify it in the newspaper.
I mean, I think Marnie's right, though, that it shouldn't be
No,
part of it.
What?
I
Yeah.
think Marnie's correct that it should not be in that
Well, I
calculation.
agree too on that.
They might not have known
That's
to,
been,
yeah.
I just wonder who came up with the statistic and,
yeah.
I didn't have anybody calling me downstairs asking.
Say how much is. You have maps so that you can click and see what you have in conservation.
Yep, I updated our conservation easement maps.
Yep, so those click and you
So
can see
you can
that.
see what properties they overlay now instead of that Google.
this is on the city map,
Yep, it'll be the tax maps, like what
on the
those,
tax map, yeah. I
that
know.
layer, so it
I've
shows
been
like the
there,
lot
yeah.
number, all these measurements, and then I overlaid what we have for conservation easements. So now you can match it up, what properties are affected by what, instead of having to take a guess with that Google overview head
Yeah.
that they had.
Does conservation easement overlay current use, is that? are
Two
they
totally
two
different things.
distinct?
Yep, two
Yeah, they're
different
two
things.
two totally different
I mean,
things.
you can't have both, right?
No,
Okay,
One technically should not be able to be legally broken, and then the current use, you can take it out of current use and pay a
Right.
penalty.
right.
but
can't
if
do
you
it
take
of
it
the
out
con-
before the time that you've put it in, you pay,
Oh, I know. yeah,
and
I
you
got
pay
all that,
dearly.
right.
and it makes a big difference if you're selling a piece of property
Again, I
and if
was
it's in
wondering if they were
current
counting-
use.
Conservation easements in that number that was put in the paper.
Dean, I have one more thing to ask before we go into a private,
Mhm.
comments on the draft wetlands rules. Are we submitting something as a group, or are we just doing it individually, or what are we doing?
I think what we had agreed on is each individual, you
Okay.
guys would send me your comments, and then I'd combine it into one document for them.
I do, no, I apologize.
No,
Right.
go ahead, Lisa.
I do know the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions the board is submitting a letter to the state about their concerns and questions. So
Can you ask them to give us a copy of that, please?
I will ask Barbara if it's appropriate to,
Well, it's gonna be public comment.
what she sent me was an email to a board member saying, this is what we're gonna say. So yes, I will ask her if.
Yeah, right, no, okay.
Yep.
I understand.
And if everyone could send those to me by the end of tomorrow.
Great.
Okay.
I'll get that sent off before I leave work. I will not be in work on Friday, so.
Okay. Okay. Okay, anything else anybody wants to talk about in public session?
I did get the NH Lakes membership. Are we doing the same amount as last year?
What did we do last year?
$300.
300 is.
That's the
group
minimum?
rate. Right, isn't that the group rate?
Yep.
Okay,
I still have what I filled out from last year on my computer too, because I scanned it in. But I just want to let you guys know before I send that out.
We will not have to make a donation to the Summer Youth Employment Program as we have in the past, because that program is not happening this summer. I know. New Hampshire Lakes is, they've kind of undergone a re-evaluation of their focus, and that's not in their focus. So there was only Laconia and one other school up north, I want to say Gorham, that still had the program,
Wow.
so.
It's pretty far north.
okay.
So I have that.
But the 300 would be good, because then we can get a discount if we want to go to the Lakes Congress in June.
Early bird special for that ends May 15th.
Right.
So
Right.
if you send to me before that who wants to go, who will be going,
You can put me down right now, if you'd
okay.
like.
You
When
can put
is
me
it?
down.
It's June 1st, it's a Friday.
Yeah.
They actually have a program Thursday evening also. It's down in Church Landing in Meredith. But I noticed that they have a couple of good workshops this year one was on using a drone to map lakes, and the other was using your phone apps to help map lakes and tributaries. So,
That was, addition to Lakes Congress, I was also looking at the VLAPs for DES.
anything
They
come
do
up?
have a workshop coming up for that.
They
And
do.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what it is, but there is a very, very useful session that's going on then. I can't think of it off the top of my head because they had a list of what was going on, but one of them was really stuck out to me. I'll send everybody the link to the registration page. It's free.
Okay, okay.
Right.
I think it's a Saturday again.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
mean, several of us went down as a group a couple years ago with Scott to get trained on the,
But yeah, I'll send all that information to you guys tomorrow.
Okay, good,
Good,
thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay.
Oh.
So,
We want to table the Pogus, the milfoil management, and the others. the
no,
other
we're
ones?
gonna talk about that in the non-public session.
Okay. All right, you need to do that vote first,
I'm sorry?
the vote.
Okay, so, right. So, we wanna go into non-public session according to RSA 91.
Dean, you gotta remember to vote the seal.
Seal the minutes.
Oh, we seal the minutes before we go into non-public
Yep, that
session?
has to be done in public session.
Okay, so, do I have a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session that we're about to go into?
So moved.
second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Do
passes.
we have to adjourn the regular meeting first?
Yes,
No, you do.
No.
No, you don't.
Don't
You
have
can
to?
You can just go right into it. I spoke to Nancy and Cheryl about this.
okay. All right, so now we're gonna go into non-public session according to RSA 91-A.3, Roman numeral 2. I'm Dean Anson, and I am into non-public session.
Deb Williams in?
Marnie Schultz in?